Welcome to the next installment in my video lecture series in economics. And in this particular video lecture, I'm going to be taking a look at the difference between absolute and comparative advantage. And this relates to the section of your textbook called Scarcity and Choice in an Economy of Two or More. So as your textbook states, a producer has the absolute advantage over another in the production of a good or service if they can produce that product using fewer resources. So what we have here is just two tables, one for Mo and one for Curly. And what it does is it maps out their production possibilities for fish and coconuts, and this is how much they can produce in any particular day. So if we take a look at Mo, we can see here that if Mo spends all of his time collecting coconuts and allocates no time to fishing, he could collect 10 coconuts and catch 0 fish. Alternately, Mo can spend all of his time fishing and allocate no time to coconut collecting, and in that scenario, Mo can catch 10 fish in a day and will collect no coconuts. So if we take a look at Curly, again, same thing happens. This is showing us the production possibilities for Curly. So if Curly spends all of his time collecting coconuts and spends no time fishing, obviously he's going to catch no fish. And then in that given day, he will be able to collect 12 coconuts. Alternately, he can allocate his time to fishing 100% of the time. And in that case, he can catch 18 fish in a day and will collect no coconuts. So how do we determine who has the absolute advantage in production? Here we are just going to concern ourselves with the scenario where both Mo and Curly specialize in coconut production. So they're going to both be spending all of their time collecting coconuts and spending no time fishing. So if we take a look at that, you will note that in a given day, Mo can collect 10 coconuts while Curly could collect 12 coconuts when they both spend all their time collecting coconuts. So given that Curly is collecting 12 coconuts in a day relative to the 10 that Mo collects, Curly has the absolute advantage in coconut production. He can outproduce Mo in a day when they both spend all of their time collecting coconuts. If we are now concerned with fish production, we go to the last row, which illustrates when both Mo and Curly specialize in fish production, i.e. they spend all of their time fishing and spending no time collecting coconuts. So again, if we compare daily output for Mo and Curly when they specialize in fishing all the time, Mo can catch 10 fish in a day while Curly can catch 18 fish in a day. Because of this, Curly has the absolute advantage of fish production. In a day, he can catch 18 fish while Mo can only catch 10. So Curly has the absolute advantage in fish production. So note in this example, Curly has the absolute advantage in the production of both of these goods, both fish and coconuts. Now, alternately, we could use this information and put together a PPF and make a determination of who has the absolute advantage in the production of a particular commodity. So if we graph this out, we can graph out a PPF for Mo and for Curly. As you should remember, or hopefully remember, is that if Mo spent all of his time collecting coconuts and not fishing, he would have 10 coconuts. He would be able to collect 10 coconuts and catch 0 fish. Or if he spent all of his time fishing, he would catch 10 fish and collect no coconuts. So if we connect those 2 points, this will give us the PPF, the production possibilities frontier for Mo, which represents all of the production possibilities that Mo is capable of, given that he's using his resources efficiently. We could graph out a PPF for Curly also. As you might remember, if Curly spent all of his time collecting coconuts, he would collect 12 coconuts and have no time for fishing, so he would catch 0 fish. Alternately, if he spent all of his time fishing, he could catch 10 fish in a day and collect 0 coconuts. If we connect those 2 points, that would give us the PPF of Curly, and this PPF represents the production possibilities for Curly, all of the production possibilities for Curly, given that he's using all of his resources efficiently. So if you can compare these two, you can see that the PPF of Curly is above or greater than the ppf for Mo in every single instance. So you can see here that in absolute terms, Curly can outproduce Mo in coconuts per day and in fish production per day. So therefore, he has the absolute advantage in the production of both coconuts and fish. Now, if we turn our attention to comparative advantage, a producer has the comparative advantage over another in the production of a good or service if they can produce that product at a lower opportunity cost. So you can see here we have the same table with the same data, but we have to approach this differently. We want to calculate opportunity cost. So for example, we want to know if Mo collects a coconut, what does he give up in catching fish when he allocates that time to coconut production? And we do the same thing for Curly. We want to see if he spends time collecting a coconut, how much fish does he not catch because of the time he allocates to coconut production? So let's take a look. We know that if Mo spends all of his time collecting coconuts, he can collect 10 coconuts. And if he spends all of his time fishing, he can catch 10 fish. So we're concerned with the opportunity cost of coconut production. So we're going to divide both sides by 10. And in doing so, we get one coconut is the equivalent of one fish. What that means is that in the time that Mo uses to collect one coconut, he does not catch one fish. So the opportunity cost of collecting a coconut for Mo is one fish. We do the same thing for Curly. So in a given day, he could collect 12 coconuts, or in any given day, he could collect 18 fish. So if we set those equal to one another and divide by 18, we can get what the opportunity cost of a coconut is. So if we divide both sides by 18, we get one coconut is the equivalent of 1.5 fish. That means in the time that Curly spends collecting a coconut, he could have caught 1.5 fish. So we've calculated the opportunity cost of producing a coconut for both Mo and Curly. Now we just have to compare them to see who's producing a coconut at a lower opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost of the collection of one coconut is one fish for Mo and 1.5 fish for Curly. Therefore, Mo has a comparative advantage in coconut production because in the time he spends collecting a coconut, he could have caught one fish, whereas in the time that Curly spends collecting a coconut, he could have caught 1.5 fish. So the opportunity cost of collecting a coconut is one fish for Mo and 1.5 fish for Curly. Therefore, Mo has a lower opportunity cost in collecting coconuts. Therefore, he has the comparative advantage. We could do the same thing, and now, except we're going to be taking a look at fish production. So we know that Mo could have caught 10 fish in a day or collected 10 coconuts in a day. So we want to know what the opportunity cost of producing one fish is, and that's one coconut for Mo. So all we did was divide both sides by 10. So we know that in the time that Mo catches one fish, he could have collected a coconut. We do the same thing for Curly. We see that in a given day, he could have caught 18 fish, and in that same given day, he could have collected 12 coconuts. So we want to know what the opportunity cost of production of one fish for Curly is. So we divide both sides by 18, and we get one fish is equal to 0.67 coconuts. Therefore, in the time that Curly catches one fish, he could have collected 0.67 coconuts. So to determine who is producing at a lower opportunity cost in fish, we compare these numbers, and we see that when Mo catches a fish, the opportunity cost of catching that fish is one coconut. However, it's only 0.67 coconuts for Curly. Therefore, Curly has the comparative advantage in fish production. So hopefully that's helpful. One of the things that oftentimes occurs is students don't realize that there's a difference between absolute and comparative advantage. So I wanted to make sure I spent some time illustrating the difference between these two concepts and giving you a couple of examples to show you, number one, how to calculate absolute advantage and how to calculate comparative advantage.